today. This will help you cement whatever you learned today, and it'll be a smooth session for you. All right. This is about the free stuff we sent you. Next thing I want to talk to you about is this. We constantly do sessions to help you people ace the GMAT. Now, a lot of free webinars are lined up every weekend. Today is one such webinar. I'd like to tell you about the one that we have next, the upcoming webinars. So Saturday, April 3rd, 7 a.m. PST, which is the same time as today, you would have a free GMAT RC webinar. So you learn a lot about reading comprehension there. You learn reading strategies to master GMAT RC in just 20 days. After that, on Sunday, April 4th, same time again, you would have a free GMAT Quant workshop. So in this Quant workshop, you'll get personalized insights on how to achieve your target score. So make sure you attend these sessions and get closer to your target scores. Now, we had also put in this little poll for you. We wanted to understand what the group today is like. If you haven't already put in your answers, please poll your So what we see here is that the majority has not taken a date yet. So you don't know when you're going to take the test. That is 39% of you. While we still have people, 11% of you, who have the exam in the next 15 days. And then 16 to 30 is again 11%, then 31 to 45. So you see we have a fairly well-distributed audience today. You are at various different stages in your prep. Well, wherever you are, this session today is going to help you a lot. Whether it's the first time you're doing this or you're just reviewing your concepts, you will see how this session today takes you closer and makes NP prime numbers easier for you. Okay, with this, we will start the session. So I will just bring in the presentation mode. I will again bring in the yes/no poll. You just have to tell me the moment you can see the presentation. It will take a few seconds, so it's okay. I'm just opening the yes/no poll here on the screen. Tell me when you can see the PPT. That's great. So before we start, let me just give you a few house rules. What we have here, whatever you see on the screen right now, I'll tell you. You see the PPT, the number properties 2 presentation. On the right of that, you see the answer yes/no poll to which you just responded. Below that, you see another pod, the chat pod, which is titled Answer Shweta's Question. So I am Shweta Koshija, your host for today. Whenever I will ask you a question, you just have to respond to me in this chat pod. So this is the way you interact with your host. While on the left, you will also see a Q&A pod. This is for questions and answers, questions that I might not be able to answer, say some confusions you have on the questions that we solve. All of those you will put in the Q&A pod, and our co-host for today, Atreya, is going to help you there. So I hope everybody is clear with how to use which pod. Again, my introduction, as I said, the presenter, I am Shweta, and Atreya is going to help us today, support the session for us. Our agenda is going to be to solve every number properties question using a unified approach. So it's not going to be random. It's not going to be different ideas every time you see a different question. It is the concepts that you'll build and one proper approach that will work throughout. Now, there are two parts again. We will have the live session for most of the time, and then if questions, if any that you might have, we will take them towards the end of the session. The purpose is to help you understand that the key to acing GMAT Quant is this. You need to have a sound understanding of basics. There should be absolutely no confusion when it comes to the very basics of concepts, and you should apply a structured approach to solving questions. The approach should not vary question to question just about every time, or there should be no shortcuts or tricks, because those will not work every time. This approach that we're going to teach you today is going to work throughout, no matter what question you see. Here now is a very important slide. We're going to talk about how the session is going to proceed today. What is the progression of the session? I will show you 3 hard questions, data sufficiency questions, 700 plus level questions, and you will solve them. We will not discuss the solutions yet. These 3 questions, the intention here is to give you a flavor of what you are going to attain after the session today. What is the goal? What is the top level that you're going to reach? Then my aim for the session today is to prepare you for these 3 questions. A lot of you will have difficulties when you will solve it the first time. What we'll do right after that is this warm-up section, which will be sub 650 level easy questions, 5 of them. Using these warm-up questions, we will refresh our concepts. So if your concepts are rusted, it's been a long while since you've done this, or you want to review, this is the place to be. Then you would have 3 problem-solving questions, 650 to 700 level questions, where you will be applying the concepts that you will have just reviewed with me in the warm-up. After this problem solving, you will have 4 more problem-solving questions, this time 700 plus level. See how the level of difficulty is gradually increasing. You had 650 to 700 here, even below that here in the warm-up, then 650 to 700 in problem solving, and then 700 plus here. After this, we will go back to the first 3 questions that I will show you right in the beginning, and this time we will solve and discuss them in detail. You will notice how the first time the difficulty that you face with these, you will not face the same difficulties when you do it the second time. And that really will be true growth, something that you will be able to assess yourself. You will feel it yourself. Oh, I didn't know this earlier. Now I can solve this. And that is when you'll truly feel happy. Now tell me if you all understood how the session is going to progress in the yes/no poll, and then we're gonna get started. So it's good everybody should be on the same page, and then you'll be able to all work together as a group. So as you know, the first stage in our session today is these GMAT style questions, 700 plus level hard data sufficiency questions, which we are not going to discuss the solutions of. Here now is question number 1. But there's one more rule I want to give you right here. So that is something you have to do throughout the session. So this is the time, now is the time I tell you. You will see this poll here that I just brought on the screen. I am opening this. Every time I see people already know the rules here. If you click on still solving, then I count you as an active participant in the session. If you do not count that, then I'm not counting you as an active participant. For example, right now we have 77 participants here, 78, and 30 people have marked still solving. So only you people are active for me. I will go and direct my session according to how you people perform and the pace at which you perform. So the moment I have 80% of still solving population with an answer, I will start discussing. So there's no fixed timer that I'm going to put you people to. It's going to be based on 70 to 80% of the ready population having done the question. Now that I have 47 of you, it's a fair percentage. I'm going to count 47 people as active participants at the moment. Here's question 1 for you guys. Good luck. Seconds before I end the poll. Please put in your answers. Right, I have the answers from everybody. I'll just broadcast the results to show you how you people have answered as a group. Just see what this is. This is interesting. A and C, there's almost a tie. 34% of you with A and 37% of you with C. So a very small majority, very small margin has gone with C. This shows that we are not very sure of what we are doing here. Some of you might have this right, some of you might have this wrong. I'm not telling the correct answer yet. We will discuss this. But remember what you marked and remember how you felt during this question the first time. Now I will just clear the answers here. Just mark still solving to tell me that you're ready for the next challenge question, and I'll bring that your way. All right, a few more participants, just 36 people are ready. We have 88 right now. Good. Be interactive and you'll really understand this session. You'll make best use of it that way. Here is question number 9. Good luck, everyone. Fifteen seconds before I end the poll. Please make sure you mark your answers. Here are the results. You see the majority, 38% this time going with A, but we have 11%, 19% with E, and we also have votes for C and B. So all 5 of the options got votes. Some of you every time marked one of the options. So no option really was wrong for the entire population here. So yet again, it is okay for this to be happening right now. We have gaps right now. This is good. I will just now reopen the poll. You have to tell me still solving, and then we're gonna have the next question. Let me just clear this up, and here we go. So we're way more interactive this time. I'm glad. Good luck, everyone. Here's number 10 for you. Fifteen seconds before I end the poll. Please put in your answers before then. Right, you will now all be seeing the responses. Just see how scattered this is. You have A, B, C, D, and E. All options have gotten votes, and A and D are almost the same. B is also really close to those two, and C is also not very far behind. So definitely there is confusion here in these sessions. We can in these questions, we can see that. Just keep in mind how you people performed and what responses you saw here, because this is what I will talk about later when we actually come to this. Now, I just want to talk to you a little about how you felt about these three questions. How hard did you find them? How easy did you find them? Talk to me in the chat pod. So we see a lot of hard. Oh my God, two was hard. Let me just see that you can all see your each other's responses so you'll know how the entire group feels about this. Okay, yes, the results are broadcast. All right, so the third was very confusing. Two was hard. This was medium level. Question two and three were hard. One person says dead easy. Wow, very hard, confusing, easy for a math gangster like me. Okay, so we see most of you, well, the majority is finding this difficult, found this difficult, and they were supposed to be difficult. They were hard questions. I see a question, how would we do this on an actual GMAT? Well, you will do this and you will see how just after we finish the session today. By the time we're done, I will ask you again how you feel about these same three questions. And that will be the moment we'll all just congratulate ourselves on having made great progress. Well, now you know the next stage today, the next level of our session is the warm-up questions, where we are going to do just basic questions on divisibility and remainders. I will give you feedback about your current conceptual knowledge. We will discuss solutions, but they would not be super detailed because these are simple questions. So I'm going to bring in the very first warm-up question. Let me just change the poll for that. All you have to do again, you know the drill. You just have to click on still solving, and that is my cue to show you the next question. Right, 40 people ready out of 92. The others, I hope everybody wants to be actively engaged in the session today. Let's bring in this readiness number. Right, here we go. Here's question number one, everyone. Good luck. Seconds before I end the poll. Right, here we have the results. The majority, 74% of you, okay, that's a great majority, marked option B, and that is Correct. So good job there. But the 26% of us who were confused about this question, let's just discuss this and then you will be there. So this is again a place where conceptual gaps just reflect there's some problem with our conceptual understanding. So in this question now, what do we have? We have Z, which is a 3-digit number whose digits are consecutive numbers in increasing order. And we had three options, three statements, and all of them are talking about the divisibility of Z by 3. Tell me in the chat pod, how do we do this and what is the rule that you really used for this one? Did you know the divisibility rule? And if yes, what is it? Divisibility rule is that the sum of the three digits, whatever number of digits here, it's 3-digit, but the sum of all the digits should be divisible by 3. So I see a lot of you are saying that. There's one person who says 3 consecutive numbers divisible by 3. Well, it's the sum of 3 consecutive numbers, not just 3 consecutive numbers, because you don't know what operation you're talking about. So good. That is really the idea that we're going to work with here. We know that it is 3 consecutive numbers that we have as the digits. So what we can assume is we can assume the digits to be x, then x plus 1, and then x plus 2. Then according to the divisibility rule that you just gave me, the sum of these digits has to be divisible by 3. So sum, I'm just adding all of them. It is 3x plus 3, which is what? 3 times x plus 3. You can clearly see that this number here is a multiple of 3 because it's 3 times something, right? And that is why this is always divisible by 3. So choice B is the correct answer. I hope everybody is absolutely clear with this question now. I'm going to clear the answers and just say still solving. We will be going on to warm-up number 2 then. Here's question number 2. Good luck. Seconds before I end the poll. Right, here are the results. So the majority this time, A has gone with option A, but it's just a 52% majority. So half of you were with A. C has a huge percentage, 36% of you are there with C, and then B also has a small percentage. So it was really between A and C then. So the accuracy, yes, the majority is correct. 52% of you are correct, but it's a very low accuracy. So the reason for that could be that you did not know what the divisibility rule for 4 is. How do we decide whether a number is divisible by 4 or not? Tell me in the chat pod, what was it in this question that was difficult? And if you knew the result, if you knew how to check divisibility, then what's the rule? Absolutely correct. Last two digits should be divisible by 4. So you don't care about the rest of the number. You have to look at the number formed by the last two digits. I'd just like to correct you all there. If you say last two digits, I mean, it's okay. We usually say it that way, but I hope you understand the meaning. It's not that each of the last two digits has to be divisible by 4. It's the number that you get through using those last two digits. Okay, somebody said you had to take examples to do this. So a lot of you knew the divisibility rule. So that means that is not the reason probably why we got this wrong. So I want to understand from people who got this wrong, how did you work with this? Meanwhile, I'll start discussing this question here. So Z is a 4-digit number whose digits are again consecutive numbers. You have to select the correct statement. Now again, the working is that only last two digits divisible by 4. But now think about it. If it's any 4-digit number, what are the possibilities? Well, just two possibilities. In fact, for any number in the world, it's either odd or even. If Z is odd, then the last two digits, that'll be an odd number and it can never be divisible by 4, right? So whenever Z is odd, this number, this 4-digit number will never be divisible by 4. So you already have a possibility, a situation where your number Z will not be divisible by 4. But the moment you look at Z being even then there are possibilities. Look at this. If I have 3, 4, 5, 6, then the last two digits are 56, and 56 is divisible by 4. While when you take 1, 2, 3, 4, the last two digits are 34, and 34 is not divisible by 4. That means just giving this much information of Z having, 4 consecutive integers as its digits, that is not enough. You see that it could not be divisible as well as it could be divisible, and that is why we mark this Z may be divisible by 4. I hope everybody now understands this. Now that you've seen the solution, tell me, where did you falter? What is it that you did wrong? All the 48% of you who got this wrong. Yeah, I thought I have to add the last two digits. That means the problem was with you not knowing the divisibility rule. Somebody says, I solved it right, but selected the wrong option. See, that's just about being very careful. Somebody said, thought only in one direction. Yes, it's an important skill to consider all the cases that there are to any problem. Do not jump to answers. All right, I use the x plus 1 method. Well, even if you use that, x and x plus 1, then x plus 2 and x plus 3, that would then, how would you do the last two digits? Because those would be unknowns. Well, okay, I'm glad everybody realizes where they went wrong, and that itself is step 1 to correcting our mistakes. We first have to diagnose where the problem is, right? With this, I am now going to reopen the poll for question number 3. Tell me you're ready, and then I'll show you the question. Here we go. Good luck, everyone. I am sorry about one little thing. We had 4 options here. I gave you the wrong poll. Just give me 1 second. I'll just correct that. And please put in your answers one more time with that. Just give me 1 second. Okay, here we have the correct poll with 4 choices now. Just poll in whatever you had already polled. Okay. All right, let me just broadcast the results here. What do we have? You see a huge majority with option C. So 90% of you, 92% of you, let me just end the poll quickly. 93%, now it's going greater and greater because I hadn't ended. 93% of you marked option C, which is the correct answer. This time we had a great majority. So congratulations to everybody. And this tells me we do not need to spend very long on this particular question. Let's see, let's discuss this. What is the number closest to 8, 2, 3, 4, and this and that, this huge number, which is a multiple of 8? Tell me in the short answer pod, in the chat pod, how do we check divisibility by 8? Absolutely. Just how we have the last 2 digits for divisibility by 4, we have the last 3 digits for divisibility by 8. So wonderful. Here now, right now, what are the last digits I have? I have 897, 897, which is not divisible by 8. How do I know? I can just do a quick division. I can just divide 897 by 8, and what I will see as a result is that I have a remainder, and that tells me it is not actually divisible. It's not exactly divisible. Then you need to find the closest number to this here, which will be divisible by 8. Just think about it. When you had 897, you had a remainder of 1. That means there was 1 extra, right? So you want to take away that 1 extra, whatever was remaining. So from 897, if you just subtract 1, it'll be 896. So you keep the rest of the number as it is. Don't change any of the other digits. Just the last 3 will become 896. And that's it. This is how we had to do this question. Now I am going to show you question number 4 the moment I see enough people saying still solving. Good luck. Seconds before I end the poll. All right, here are the results. So the majority this time went with option D. 73% of you went with option D, and that is the correct answer. So well done there. The 27% who was not confident about this one, let's discuss. This question here will give you a very, very important principle that we will use throughout the rest of the session. So pay very close attention to this. What do we have? We have a number n that leaves a remainder of 3 when divided by 204. So I don't know what this number is. I don't know what 204 is. I'm sorry, I don't know what n is, but I know that when I'll divide this by 204, then my remainder will be 3. Question is, what is the remainder when this n is divided by 4? So without even having the dividend, the number that I have to divide, I want to find the remainder. So how do we do such questions? Well, this is based on this concept, this very important result here, this rule about dividend is equal to divisor times quotient plus remainder. Now this is so important. You'll see this throughout the session. This is super, super important in doing these questions correct. See how I am going to use this. So n leaves a remainder of 3 when divided by 204, right? That is your given information. What do I do with this information now? What do I do with this? I have this and the result that dividend is equal to divisor times quotient plus remainder. I will use these two together to create an equation. What is the dividend in my case? The dividend is n, right? Then the remainder is 3 and the divisor is 204. So I have each of these entities here. So if I write it like that, then my dividend on the left hand side, I write n first, then it's divisor times quotient. Now I know the divisor is 204, I don't know the quotient, so I'm just calling that q, plus the remainder, which is 3 for me. So that way I can write n is equal to 204q plus 3. Now, what is it that I want to do? I want to find the remainder when n is divided by 4, right? So that means my dividend is still n. My remainder is what I want. The quotient I still don't know, and I also know that when it is divided by 4 is the situation I want to solve. That means my divisor is 4. Now when I use all of that to write this equation, the divisibility remainder equation, I get n is equal to 4p plus r, 4q. Q was the quotient in your first case. P is the quotient. I don't know what the value is. I'm just using a letter to represent it. Now here, my goal is to find the remainder, right? So I just want to find out R. Now here you see a small rule written. R is less than 4. Well, this is common sense. Whenever you divide a number, and you're getting something, you keep dividing, the stage at which you stop division, it is when your remainder becomes smaller than the divisor. Suppose my remainder was 5. Why would I stop dividing? I had to divide by 4, and if I'm left with 5, I would still do one more step. I would do 4 ones are 4, and then I would subtract that and get my remainder as 1. So the remainder always has to be less than the divisor. Now, how do I do this? I have something to use. I have n equal to 204q plus 3 to use, and this to get 4p plus r. Look very carefully. Since I want 4p, my divisor is 4, I have to somehow use what I have to express this using a 4. So what we are doing is we're just rewriting 204q as 4 times 51q. Why? Because 4 times 51 is equal to 204. That's it. The moment I replace this into my original divisibility remainder equation, this one that I had, I will be able to say this. N is equal to 4 times 51q plus 3. Now, this 51q becomes the P that I was looking for. This is the P that I was looking for, right? So my P is now what? It is this 51q. And then when I simply compare both of these together, this that I've gotten in the end and what I had here, I will be able to see that R is equal to 3. So let me just bring in the yes no poll. Tell me you're comfortable with this. Tell me you've understood this. This is very important. This is the core of the session today. So let me just reopen this poll. Mark yes if you understand how we use the divisibility remainder equation. We just had to manipulate the 204 to get it into a 4. Okay, so we have kind of divided results right now. Some people say yes, some people say no, but it's okay. This is the very first question. It's okay if you're confused here. We're going to do one more question on this and then you will understand this. That is going to be warm-up question number 5 for you. Just remember what you have to absolutely use here. It is this equation here, the divisibility and this equation here, divisibility remainder equation. You will see what is given to you and you will try to use it to get what you want. This is what you wanted, 4p plus something, and what you had was 204q. So you just rewrote your 204q as this, and then it became 4p, for P being 51Q. It's okay though if you're still confused, you will get more clarity when we come to the next question. So just mark still solving and I'm going to show you the next question. Here you go. Be careful. Use the same rule, the divisibility remainder equation. Try to express what you want from what you have. Good luck. Seconds before I end the poll. Okay, here are the results. You see 75% of you voting for option A here, which is the correct answer. So good job there. Great accuracy. Now, 25% of you who did not make this. Let's discuss this one more time. So I hope the people who got this correct used the divisibility remainder equation. You will absolutely need that for the questions coming. So let's discuss this slowly. Here again is the equation I talked to you about. Then we'll just see what is given to us. So what is given to us is that when n is divided by 205, the remainder is 6. So you write this like this. Your dividend is n, your divisor is 205, your quotient you don't know, so you're just calling that q, and the remainder is 6. And what we want to find is, we want to find the remainder when n is divided by 5. So the dividend is still n, the divisor is 5, quotient we don't know, remainder is what we want. So here we write the divisibility remainder equation using the same equation and whatever dividend, new divisor, remainder, whatever information we had. Tell me in the yes no poll if you are comfortable till this stage. Okay, so well, Tell me in the short answer pod what is the confusion that you still have, because this is the very beginning of the solution. We've just used dividend, divisor, quotient, remainder, whatever we have, to just write down the equation. P is just the quotient. We don't know the value, but P will be the quotient when you divide n by 5. Just how Q is the quotient when n is divided by 205. You can change your answer from no to yes the moment you understand till here. Right. Wonderful. Now let's move forward with this. I'll ask you another question when we take one more step in the solution. So what we have is n equal to 205 q plus 6, and what we want is n equal to 5p plus r. Just keep this very, very clear, what you have, what you want. So I want 5 times something. How do I write 5 times something when I actually have 205 times something? Well, it's super simple because 205 is a multiple of 5. So I can write 205 as 5 times 41. And this 41q then is going to become my p. I don't know the exact value. I don't want the exact value. So 205q can be written as 5p. That's exactly what I talked about, which is the question that I just read here in the chat box. You can express 205 as 5 times 41. So 205q is 5 times 41q, and this 41q, you call it p. That becomes your new quotient, p. So finally, when you write it this way, you will see this can be rewritten as n equal to 5p plus 6. 5p plus 6. Now, I told you this rule that the remainder had to be less than the divisor, right? Remainder had to be less than 5 then. So how can I have the remainder as 6? Well, it's not possible. So what you do after this is you divide your 6 again by 5. And what happens then, using the divisibility remainder equation, you can write 6 is equal to 5 times 1 plus 1. This time when you compare it with this equation on top, you will see that r is equal to 1, and that was option A. So somebody says in the chat, basically you have to divide the whole term into two parts, one which is divisible by 5 and the other which is not. That's absolutely true. That's the best way to put this. You have divisor times quotient, so 5 times p, which is a multiple of 5, the divisor, and this remainder, which will not be a multiple because it will be smaller than that. So tell me in the yes no poll if we're now comfortable with this. Wonderful. This looks great. This 100% is very, very good. So for one or two people who are still confused with this, just trust the session, trust the flow of the session. I hope we'll be able to clarify your doubts. Or if not, then when you get the recording of the session, you will understand whatever is problematic right now. So in the warm-up section, the overall feedback that I want to give you is you have to have absolute clarity about your concepts. 200% clear you have to be with them, no doubts whatsoever. Because actually when you sit for the exam, the application there would be a much advanced level of this. It would not be just as straightforward as this. Sure, you review these concepts, watch the recording, make best use of this, and if there's any problem, also you remember you have the free resources also that we sent your way in the beginning. Now let's just talk a little about how you feel after this warm-up session. I've just opened the yes no poll, I'm sorry, the chat pod here. Tell me, what is it that you learned through these 5 questions? Things that you did not know, you were not confident about. Use the chat pod and tell me. It's been a long time since I solved questions. Very good revision. A revision to the concepts. Divisibility rule of four. Yes. Learn different approaches. Sanjeev is pretty confident. Need tougher questions. Of course, we're going to get to the tough questions. Just see how we had so much confusion about the easy ones. This is where everything is set, right? I told you the key to success on the GMAT. Basics should be absolutely clear. Okay, what is the biggest takeaway? Tell me the things that you didn't know. Yes, application is most important. All right. I can see one takeaway till now. Okay, one person says the key is to express the unknown quotient on the two equations. Yes, it's using the divisibility remainder equation. You just express the dividend using the quotient, the divisor, and the remainder. It's that one powerful equation that will work throughout. Now, with this warm up, I would like to just tell you something about something very important in your preparation journey. You saw how different people responded so differently to these questions. Some of you, when I asked how you found the questions, the three hard questions, you said they were very hard. You also had some people who said they were easy. Some people want tough questions. Some people say, oh, this was a good revision. I had forgotten a lot of things. So everybody has a different trajectory. Everybody has a different path to success. You need your own personalized study plan. You need your own milestones where you can see where you're strong, where you're weak, so that you can work on them. You need to have precise estimates. You need to know how much do I need to spend, how long will I need to work on the SE to get good at it or on algebra to get good at it. You need to keep tracking your improvement also. What if you don't know where you're going? Then it'll all be super hard. So to help you do this, we have this. Just click on the link and you will see this screen. You just have to choose the tile that matches your problem area. If you see here, the highlighted tile here is timing issues. So this is for people who feel, oh, I know my concepts, but somehow I just can't do anything with the timing. I always take too long. Somebody who's good with everything, but is just stuck at a 640, cannot go beyond that, will choose this tile. So choose the one that matches your problem area. After that, you just have to click on this, which is help me reach my target score. So you want us to help you here. When you click on that, you will see this screen. Choose a convenient slot. Choose the time you want to schedule this, and then fill in some information about you. So your name, your email, your target score, and what are the key areas you need help in, and so on. So you know what happens because of this? We will already have a good idea about where you stand, where you want to go, and we will be able to plan this call much more efficiently before we ever get together. So here if you're an e-GMAT student, you should already have your personalized study plan. Make sure you have it. You need to understand your personalized study plan. It's not just about having a plan. You need to know how to follow it. You need to know how it makes sense. You need to understand each of the stages of learning. Yes, there are stages to learning. It's not just about sitting and doing questions. There is a stage for everything. You need to build concepts first, build your basics, then you just practice, and then you go to your mock test. So you need to understand everything clearly. Attend the onboarding sessions that happen twice per week. These sessions help you understand your plans. Attend the test readiness sessions also. So these are for people who are done with their preparation and just are at the final stages, getting ready for the test. So make sure you make best use of all these very smart facilities that we're providing you with. These will ensure that you use your time wisely. You don't just practice things that you don't need to practice, and you don't just do things the wrong way. Now with this, we are going into the second leg of our session today, which, as you know, is the 600 level problem solving questions. So this time you're going to have, just a second, let me remove this. Let me bring in a new poll. We're going to have 5 questions, five choices for each of these questions now. I've brought in the poll. Mark still solving to tell me you're ready, and I'll show you the very first question. Right, here's question number 1. Good luck. Seconds. 15 seconds before I end the poll. All right, here are the results. The majority this time, 60% of you, just it's not a very huge majority, but yes, the majority is correct. You marked option C. 6 is the correct answer. So 40% of us were not sure of this answer. We had votes for A and D and one vote for E as well, but most of you did not mark your answer. For the people who've been marked incorrect on this, you stayed at still solving. Make sure when you've spent so much time on a question and you're running out of time, even then, don't let the chance just pass. Just mark, make a smart guess if you're running short on time. Understand that even on the exam, skipping a question, just missing a question is heavily penalized. That's worse than getting it wrong. So give it your best attempt. Let's discuss this. M is a positive integer and m by 30 is equal to 8.2. What is the remainder when m is divided by 15? So again, it is something about the remainder. You have the dividend, which is m, and you have the divisor, which is 15, and you want the remainder. Now you know the divisibility remainder equation from our discussion on the warm-up questions. So it is dividend is equal to divisor times quotient plus remainder, and the remainder has to be less than 15 because 15 is the divisor. You know this. Now, did you actually multiply 30 and 8.2 to get m? If not, tell me your approach in the chat pod here. Actually did multiply, you would have realized it took quite a while. Okay, a lot of you did that. I see a lot of yeses. I suspected that. You will see after we discuss this solution how this magical equation was going to help you there. Let me show you how. Well, I have m equal to 30 times 8.2. Yes, but I will not multiply this. What I'll do is I'll just break this down into two parts, 30 times 8 plus 30 times 0.2. And remember the goal. The goal is what is the remainder when m is divided by 15? That means again using the divisibility remainder equation, I can write m is equal to 15p plus r. P is whatever the quotient will be, and R is the remainder that I want to find out. All I know is it's less than 15. Right now, that's all I know. Now think about this. Look at this goal carefully. What are we doing? We need to express M as 15 times something plus R. That's what we need to do. But what we have is this here. We have this 30 times 8 plus 30 times 0.2. How do we put 2 and 2 together? How do we connect this? Well, I want 15 times something, but I have 30 times something. Look closely. I can write my 30 as 15 times 2. So then 30 times 8 will become 15 times 2 times 8. The 8 stays where it was. And 30 times 0.2 is just a 6. Now this 2 times 8 here, this 16 here is your P. We managed to express M as 15P plus R, and R, if you compare, is 6. It matches the condition that we had, which is that R has to be less than 15. And that is it. Let me bring in the yes no poll. Tell me if you're all comfortable with what we did here. Wonderful. Do you see now? Do you realize how this equation is so powerful? It gave you a nice method, a very clear-cut outer method without having to actually find the value of M. Now make sure you use this equation whenever the chance presents itself. I'll show you one more question where you will be able to do this. Just do not go beyond this. Do not go outside this. Whenever you see a question, think about it. Think about this equation. That can this equation help me in this question as well, maybe to do this quickly? I'm waiting for your still solving to show you the next one. Go. Good luck. Fifteen seconds before I end the poll. Okay, here are the results. 74% of you marked option C, which is correct. So we can already see the accuracy improving. In the previous question, based on the same pattern, we had a 60% accuracy. So I'm very happy to see the accuracy going up. That means you're using the right principles in the right way. So what do we have here? We have m, which is a positive integer, with m by 15 equal to 8.2. And we want to find the remainder when m is divided by 30. Yet again, we're going to use our powerful divisibility remainder equation for this. Let's see how to do that. Here, the given information is m is equal to 15 times 8.2, but we're not going to actually multiply this to get the result. We're just going to split this into two pieces, 15 times 8 plus 15 times 0.2. And we'll also keep in mind the goal that the dividend is m, the divisor is 30, the remainder is what we want. So we express it like this, where p is the quotient that we don't need to find. Remember, we just need the remainder. And the rule is the remainder has to be less than the divisor, so it has to be less than 30 for sure. Yet again, I will use what I have to write what I want. So from a 15 times something, I want to go to a 30 times something. And how do I do that? Pretty simple. Look at this. This 8 here can be rewritten as 2 times 4. And then this 2 that 8 gave me will become a part of 15, and together they'll become 30. So it's 30 times 4 plus 3. It's a perfect match with this equation that I wanted to get this into. And when I compare this, my r is 3. You know the rule is just to have r less than 30, right? And 3 is less than 30. So we had no problems whatsoever in solving this. Nothing extra that we had to do to the remainder. I'll bring in the yes no poll. You have to tell me that you're absolutely clear with this by marking yes. Let's have some more votes. Mark yes if you understand this approach. This definitely must have gotten clearer after question 1, now that we've done 2 of the same type. Wonderful. Just keep going this way and you'll see how this becomes a part of your thought process as we do more and more questions. So I'm again going to open the poll, Mark still solving, and we will be seeing question number 3 then. Come on, let's interact a little more. We just have 30 people ready for this from a total of 84 participants. Show that you're ready for this. Be active participants in the session to really benefit out of it. Okay, that's good. The numbers are going up faster. Here's question number 3, everyone. Good luck. Use everything you've learned till now. 15 seconds to go. Okay, here are the results. The majority was with E this time, but it's a smaller majority, 53%. And yes, the answer is E. So 47% of us were not sure of this. We have votes for A, C, D, all the other options, and the closest second after option E is B, with 14% of you marking that. So it was between E and B really, if I look at you as a group, and 22% of you did not mark the answer at all. Let's discuss this, and this was understandable. This was one step beyond what we had done in the previous questions. But with careful thought, you definitely could get this correct, just how 53% of you have. Let's discuss this nice and slow. M is a positive integer and M by 15 is 9.2. Very similar to what we've been seeing. What is the remainder when M is divided by 30? Yet again, your powerful divisibility remainder equation comes to the rescue. What you have is this: M is equal to 15 times 9.2, which you break as this. After this, you also know the goal is M equal to 30p plus R, where R is what you want and that R has to be less than 30. So we've done this a lot. Now you see, you need 30 times something. You have 15 times something, exactly what you had in the previous one. In the previous one though, you had 15 times 8. And now you have 15 times 9. Tell me how many of you did this as 15 times 2 times 4.5. Mark yes if you did that. Yes if you broke 9 into 2 times 4.5. Based on the results that I see till now, you did not. A very small percentage, 12% of you did that, but yes, you did that, and the others did not do this. So that was absolutely wrong. We cannot break this into that, because you know the goal is to have the divisor times the quotient, and the quotient cannot be in decimals. They're all integers, so I cannot do that here. So by standard method of breaking this number down into 2 and whatever is left will not work. What do I do then? Well, here's what you do. You can change your 9, you can write your 9 as 8 plus 1. And then what happens is you can rewrite this as 15 times 8 plus 15 times 1 plus 3. Then this 8 is ready to give you the 2 that you want to become a 30. So it's 15 times 2 times 4, so 30 times 4, plus the rest of it is 18. When you compare this with the goal equation that you had, you will be able to see that R is equal to 18 and it is less than 30. So everything matched. We did not have to do anything more. Tell me in the chat pod, how and why did you get 3? All those people who marked 3, what did you do after this that gave you 3? Okay, somebody says it's solved correct but marked the wrong option. Okay, that is not the reason I'm looking for. That is just you being a little careless. Be careful when you do this. You spend so long, you put in so much effort to do a question. Mark the right thing. Okay, just multiplied 15 and 0.2. Oh, when you just do that, you had 15 times 9 plus 3. You had to remember the goal, right? It had to be 30p plus r. So you did not have any 30p that way. 15 times 9 does not have it. Okay. Is it possible to break it as 2 times 15 times 4 plus 2 times 15? What is this? This is 30 times 4 plus 5. How are you breaking it that way? We remember the goal, it's 30p plus r. Just follow that much. You want to express it as 30 times something. Howsoever you did this, whatever mistakes you made, tell me first of all in the yes no poll if you're clear with this now. The real idea is to improve ourselves, is to get rid of all the mistakes that we make till now. Tell me if you're clear with this one. We're not checking the prime factors. We're just trying to get the divisor here. We had 15 times something, we wanted 30 times something. It's not about primes at all. You have 15, you want 30. So you wanted a 2 there. You could have wanted something else also. So you just work on the one number that you want. Okay, now after this, we are done with this one section of 600, 700 level problem solving questions. Tell me in the chat pod, how are you feeling? What is it that you've learned? Things that you didn't know? What are your biggest takeaways till here? Things that you think, oh, I didn't know this. I was making mistakes here, and I'm hopeful this will not happen again. Meanwhile, here is the recap of these three questions. The first one, when you had 30, you wanted 15, was super simple. You just broke your 13 into 15 times 2. The second one, you had 15 times 8 and you wanted 30 times something. So you got that 2 from 8 and you wrote it as 15 times 2 times 4. In the last one, you could not get that 2 to make it into a 30 from the 9. That is why you had to rewrite your 9 as 8 plus 1, and then this 8 gave you the 2 that you want. So, alright, let's see. Better way of solving, became better at manipulating expressions. I did this for the first time today, got all questions correct. Very happy. I'm so glad to read that. This is wonderful. Yes, quotient should always be an integer. All of them, in fact, divisor, dividend, remainder, this way, they should be integers, but quotient, definitely. Wonderful. I like how you people are responding to this. Tell me if you feel ready for harder questions now. Do you feel more confident? Yes, that's an emphatic yes. Wonderful. All my answers were correct. Yes, please. That's wonderful. I like the energy that we're at right now. Let's preserve this. Show me this energy for these questions also. Now, 700 plus level questions. I hope you're 200% confident with this concept. Now, this is the magic concept of the day, the star of the show. And the subsequent slides, we will be building on our understanding of these before we see some more questions. There's a little more work that we have to do here. We just have to get more and more strong with whatever we've learned till now. So I'm going to give you some more magical things here. Just be ready for this. Okay, here's thing number one. Adding and multiplying remainders. What is this all about? How can we add and divide, add and multiply remainders? Well, look at this very carefully. I have a simple question. I'm just asking you, what is the remainder when 31 plus 43 is divided by 7? Now, one of you might do this. You might actually say, okay, let me just add 31 and 43 and then I'll see what the remainder is, right? This is sequence 1 of solving this question. When you add these, you get 74. And then when you divide 74 by 7, your remainder comes out to be 4 because 7 tens are 7 tens are 70. Sequence 2 now. Somebody else might think, do I need to add them first? What if I find individual remainders first? A lot of you might not know this and would not think of this, but see how this works. So 31 divided by 7, if I separately find the remainder, that will be 3. because 7 fours are 28 and then the remainder is 3. Similarly, if you do this separately for 43, you will get the remainder as 1 because 7 6 are 42 and then 1 is the remainder. Then add these two remainders, 3 plus 1, you still get 4. So you get the same answer that you got here by first adding your numbers and then dividing. So either of these is good. You can just use your judgment. You can choose one for you because addition anyway is not very, very difficult. Here now in this second one, you have multiplication. 31 times 43 divided by 7. Sequence 1 this time is to actually multiply first and then divide. So if I actually multiply these, I get 1, 3, 3, 3, and then when I divide, I get my remainder as 3. But look at this from sequence 2. Get the remainder separately and then multiply. So it's 3 times 1 equal to 3. Just see how this becomes super, super simple. It's way more efficient than sequence 1. Tell me in the chat pod, did you know about this and how do you feel about this now? You can just say in the yes, no poll and you can tell how you feel about this result here. Already get the feeling that this is going to make questions really fast. You must be able to feel that here. Yes, I like those wows here. It is a wow thing. When I first learned this, I was wowed by it. This is magic. This works very nicely. So what's the rationale behind it? I'll just tell you quickly. See, it's again all based on this magic equation that we did. 31 plus 43 divided by 7. If I talk about this first, just see each of them separately I can write using the divisibility remainder equation, right? Then when I add 31 and 43, I can just add these right sides also. 7 times 4 plus 3 and 7 times 6 plus 3. Then I can get this together, the 7 times 4 and the 7 times 6. It'll become 7 times 4 plus 6 or 7 times 10 plus 4. This is back into the divisibility remainder equation and you can see that your final remainder is just 3 plus 1, the individual remainders. Same way even multiplication works. So you can just multiply these two left sides and right sides. When you will do the entire product, you will see that this first, second and third terms here are all multiples of 7. So I can write 1 7 outside, the rest of it in brackets, and then the leftover bit is 3 times 1, which becomes your remainder yet again, which is just the product of the two remainders. So just so you don't have to, memorize why this works, here we discussed on the rule, the rationale behind this. Do you feel ready to practice some questions on this magic result now? Right, great. Then I will just bring in the poll. Mark's still solving again, and I will show you the next question. Let me just clear all of this. And there you go. Try your hand at this. Remember what we learned. Good luck. Seconds before I end the poll. Right, here are the results. The majority, 49%, not huge, went with option A, which is correct. So the majority is correct. But a very close second was option C with 27% votes. We also had 8% votes for B and negligible votes for D and nothing for E. Some of you, 14% of you, did not mark the answer. Well, here really it's between A and C then. Let me just explain this to you and then you will realize something very, very important here. Question is, what is the remainder when this thing, 24 to the power 3, 38 to the power 5, the product is divided by 3? Look, 24 is divisible by 3. All of us know that. So if this entire product has a 24 in it, then the product also has to be divisible by 3, right? If 24 is divisible by 3, then whatever else you want to multiply with 24, that is not going to change divisibility at all. So the remainder has to be 0. You didn't have to do any of the processing, the product or the sum or all of those things related to remainders here. This was about the very basics. Tell me how you feel about this in the chat pod. People who got this wrong, people who did this correct also. Did you do it with this simple method? You don't always have to go into the complex ideas. Stick to the basics. Yes, you were tricked despite knowing the concepts. Put plus instead of multiplication. Love how excited you are. Yes. I feel stupid. That's okay. This is good. Good that you realize what is happening here. So stick to the basics, okay? You have a lot of tools, you have a lot of results, but this can happen to you on the exam also. We just overthink sometimes, you know. We know things, we know, okay, we know 2 plus 2 is 4, but I don't know why we start thinking about all these difficult or these nice and complicated looking rules or expressions we've learned about. Use the basics. With this now, we're all going into the next question, question number 5. You know the drill. Still solving, and then we'll have the question. Go. Good luck. Ten seconds before I end the poll. Okay, there we go. 69% of you marked option C, which is the correct answer. So good there. 31% of you got this wrong. The closest second was B with 10% votes. Then there was D with 8%, A with 4%, and nothing for E. Okay, so C really took the lead here, but B, D, A. Okay, let's see. Let's see why what is correct is correct. Let's discuss this in detail. What is the remainder when 25 times 38 to the power 3 is divided by 3? We have to use these powerful results that we just learned. Look, 25 times 38 to the power 3 means what really? You're multiplying this expression with itself 3 times. So you have it once here, then one more time, and then one more time. Now, because it's a product of three numbers, you know how product works with remainders, right? You can find remainders individually and then multiply them. So the remainder for each of these will be the same. Just find them separately, then multiply. So if I work with just this, 25 times 38, and I get the remainder for that, I'll just raise it to the power 3. Now again, in 25 times 38, I can do it in two pieces. I'll do 25 by 3 separately and 38 by 3 separately. Now the remainder when 25 is divided by 3 is 1 because 3 8s are 24, and the remainder when 38 is divided by 3 is 2 because 3 12s are 36. So you have 1 and 2. Multiply them. 1 times 2 is 2. Then you had 2 cubed, 2 to the power 3, which gives you 8. But the remainder has to be less than 3. Why? Because the divisor is 3. So what do we do in cases when your remainder comes out greater? You do it one more time. You apply the divisibility remainder equation one more time. When you divide 8 by 3, the remainder is going to be 2, and that is your final answer. Tell me in the yes/no poll if you all understand this clearly. Wonderful, wonderful. Let's have a quick overview of these two questions. Calculations can be extensively simplified here. As you see in the first case, it was about addition. In the second one, it was multiplication. And the third one was when you have a power, when you have exponents. But exponents work just how multiplication does, you know. So 31 to the power 3 just means 31 times 31 times 31. So the rule is not any different when you compare it with multiplication. Now it's time for one more very magical tool, very important, and you'll see how calculations become super fast with this. So what we have here is a concept called negative remainders. Most of you will not have heard of this already. Let's discuss this in detail. So when I divide 5 by 2, I can write this as 5 is equal to 2 times 2 plus 1. So the remainder that I see here is 1. And this remainder has to be less than the divisor. It really is less than 2, so I'm sorted here. Also, we've always had the remainder 0 or more. That means it's always non-negative. It cannot be negative. So that is kind of opposite to what I'm saying here, what my title here says of negative remainders. So negative remainders are not something that you mark as your final answer. They're more like the tools to help you get to your answer faster. So negative remainders, first of all, you can again, use the divisibility remainder equation for this. So 5 was 2 times 2 plus 1. It can also be written as 2 times 3 minus 1. So in this case, what you had was 1 was what you add to the nearest multiple of 5. Here, 1 is what you're subtracting from the nearest multiple of 5. So this is my negative remainder, minus 1. Another one, see what happens if you divide 8 by 3. The positive remainder for this is 2 because 8 is 3 times 2, 6, 6 plus 2, 8. While you can also write this as 3 times 3 -1 because it's 9 minus 1. So for ease of calculation, you will be using negative remainders. This is the idea. How do you now get the positive remainder? Why? Because the rule is you cannot have negative remainders. So even if you use them and you get your negative remainder, you have to turn it back into a positive remainder. That's what you can mark in your answers. And here's the result for that. It says positive remainder is nothing but the negative remainder plus the divisor. Let's understand this. How? So if I work with this again, 5 times 5 is equal to 2 times 3 minus 1. What I'll do to this is I will add and subtract the divisor, which is 2. So plus 2 and minus 2. Then you rearrange your terms so that your 2, the new 2 that you brought in, the minus 2, comes with 2 times 3. So it's 2 times 3 minus 2, and whatever is left is minus 1 plus 2. That stays on the right hand side. That stays alone. Now these two here, 2 times 3 minus 2, just become 2 times 3 minus 1. Why? Because 2 is 2 times 1. So you can see how we came back to 2 times 2 plus 1. So one equation here is equivalent to the other equation. They had to be equal, right? Because both of them have the same values. They're both 5. It's just this idea, how am I going from negative to positive? Just focus on this yellow highlighted portion here. The negative remainder was minus 1. And when you see a plus 2 with it, that is when it becomes plus 1, which is the positive remainder. So this is the golden rule here. The only thing you need to remember that once you have your negative remainder, just add the divisor to it. Check it here also. The negative remainder is minus 1. Your divisor was 3. So if you add 3 to minus 1, it'll become 2, which is the positive remainder. And you can also do it by this rearrangement as I showed for 5, just the same way. Now with this, I am going to show you one more question. We are going to try this again, still solving, and we will have the next question. You will use negative remainders and see how calculations become faster. Here we go. Good luck. Seconds before I end the poll. Okay, so we have 73% of you going for option D, which is correct. So the majority is right here. Then we have votes for C, B, A, and E also. So we the remaining 27% was divided. Wasn't very sure of the answer. Let's discuss this and see. So this term here, this expression here for which I have to get the remainder is a lot of things in it. It has a lot of operations. You have powers, you have multiplication, you have addition also. But you also know the rules to use all of these together. You know you don't need to compute the expression. So you really can break this as a first step this way. First, use this addition in the middle to break this into two different calculations. So first one is when you want to get the remainder, when 24 to the power 3 times 38 to the power 5 is divided by 3, and then the remainder when 17 to the power 7 is divided by 3, and you're adding them. This now is again based on what we had seen earlier. Since 24 is divisible by 3, this entire thing which has a 24 in it is also divisible by 3. So the remainder is 0 for this first piece. This second bit now, this is where we're doing something new, something interesting. Look closely. If I use my usual divisibility remainder equation, then this is 17 is equal to 3 times 5 plus 2. So my remainder is 7. The remainder is 2. But the power is 7. So what will I have to do? I'll have to say it's 2 to the power 7. And then again, that is way more than the divisor. But I have this rule that my remainder has to be less than the divisor. So then I have to do more work on that 2 to the power 7. But luckily, I have negative remainders to help me. I will write this instead as 3 times 6 minus 1. 18 minus 1 is 17. So my negative remainder is minus 1. And then since I have a power 7, I'm going to do minus 1 to the power 7, which is also minus 1. Just see how 2 to the power 7 was a lot more numerically than 2 was. But minus 1 to the power 7 gave you just minus 1 only. So your value, the number did not increase. Then as a final stage, you know, you just have to convert your negative to a positive remainder by adding the divisor, which is 3. So minus 1 plus 3 is 2, and your answer is 2. Tell me in the chat box here, how do you feel about this? Do you see how negative remainders are making things easy? Did you all use this properly? Yes, it's a great concept. Learn something new. It's cool. Yes. Thank you. That's wonderful. Okay, so now that you're all comfortable, this first question that you've done, you did this for the first time. The second time you'll do this, you'll feel more confident. Third time you do this, you'll feel more confident. And slowly, this will become a part of your thought process. Here again, reopening the poll. Please mark still solving to show me you're ready for question number 7. Go. Good luck. Seconds before I end the poll. Very great speed this time. I had answers way faster than in earlier questions. Right, here we have the results. So E, had 80% votes, and E is correct. So this question we have a greater accuracy percentage, and this was done in much less time. So this is great. I can see the progress here. Let's discuss this and have the remaining 20% with the rest of us. Okay, so what do we have? We again have this expression that has a lot of operations, powers and product and addition. You're dividing it by 6 this time, but nothing changes about in terms of how we have to do it. Yet again, since 24 is divisible by 6, this entire product, this entire numerator is also divisible by 6. So your remainder from this first piece is 0. For the second piece, again, this was the usual way of doing it with remainder 5, but then you would have to deal with 5 to the power 7, which we don't want to. So we take the negative remainder minus 1, and then minus 1 to the power 7 is still minus 1. Then just final stages, converting this negative remainder to its positive version by adding the remainder. And, by adding the divisor, which is 6. So your final answer is 5. So well done here. Here's an overview of these last two questions we did on negative remainders. So it's okay to process negative remainders. Since don't just think because your remainders have to be positive, you can't have them negative even on the way. You can have them negative. Make your calculations easy and then go on. It's important to convert them, yes. Don't just mark your final answer as a negative remainder because it will be wrong. Just remember, just add the divisor to the negative remainder and you will have the positive remainder. All right, chat pod open now. Tell me how you feel about it. The next thing that we're going to do is do those first 3 challenge questions that we did in the beginning again. Tell me how you feel about it. What are the tools that you're going to take into those first 3 challenge questions now? Things you didn't have and things you have now. Okay, great, great, confident. Is it really 700 plus? Yes, the ones that you're going to see now, the ones that you saw in the beginning, they are 700 plus level. When exactly do we need to apply negative remainders? Well, when you have positive remainders and powers over them. So 2 to the power 3, 2 to the power 3 is pretty small. That's just 8. But when you have 2 to the power 10, 2 to the power 7, why would you want to do that if you can have a minus 1, for example? That'll be faster in terms of calculation. Okay, how are we feeling? More responses here. Confident, great. Okay. Conversion of negative remainders is a very effective concept. That's so true. That's really, really going to help you. Okay, I really like the energy here. And with this positive attitude, we are going to go into these 3 hard questions again. My poll is open and waiting for your still solvings. I'll bring in the first question now. Make sure you use everything you learned today, how you can add remainders, multiply remainders, what to do with powers, what to do with negative remainders, the divisibility remainder equation. Bring all of that back and use it here. Good luck. Twenty seconds before I end the poll. All right, here are the results. We have majorly votes for A and C. A is at 54% and C is at 26%. Well, the correct answer is A. So good. Again, the majority is correct. Now, I don't know if you remember, but the first time you people had attempted this question, A had just 34% votes. So from a 34% accuracy, we've already come to a 54% accuracy. So 20% more people are now in the correct zone, doing it correctly. So good. Give a pat to yourself on your backs. Now let's discuss this. Let's see why when you marked C, you marked C. Well, the only reason was that you thought statement 1 alone could not do it for you. Statement 2 clearly looks insufficient. Why? Because it gives us no information about P. So that is why I think the reason is only because of not doing statement 1 properly. So let's discuss this. Let's start with the question stem. All you have is this number P, which when you divide by by M, you want the remainder. Well, statement 1 tells you P is equal to M plus 1 to the power 8. Just write things down. Don't give up only because you saw some unknowns, only because you saw, oh, I don't know P, I don't know M, I can't do anything. Don't give up before trying. So here, if it's P by M, it's really M plus 1 to the power 8 by M. And now you know how to process this. You can get your power 8 outside. Inside, what you have is the remainder when M plus 1 is divided by M. I don't care about what the value of M is. This remainder is always going to be 1. M plus 1 is always 1 more than M. So it's 1 more than the multiple itself. And then finally 1 to the power 8 is what? 1. So this can give you the remainder, this first statement. Tell me what happened here in the chat box. Was it what I said? The fear of the unknown, just seeing unknowns P and M and just marking that it's not sufficient. This was the main part in this question. Just understanding statement 1. Nobody marked option B. Means what? Nobody thought statement 2 was sufficient. It was only about statement 1 and this one little thing of not trying, not writing what you have. Use every piece of information in the question. Use it. You will see things, you will be able to infer things, but if you just see them and just give up, that's a good chance lost. Now here, statement 2, no information about P, it's insufficient. I don't need to combine the statements, right? Why do I not need to? Because statement 1 is already sufficient. So as I see in the chat here, looks so easy now, so clear now, did not write P. Yes, so there's this problem of not writing everything. Use this paper, write things out. Why is it legal to take 8 out? Take 8 out. Well, 8 is what? It's M plus 1 to the power 8. Means it's M plus 1 times M plus 1 times M plus 1. 8 times it's a product. And you know how we saw in remainders, right? That if it's a product of numbers divided by something, you can find the remainders separately and then multiply all of them. So power 8 is nothing different from multiplying something 8 times. Okay, I hope everybody is absolutely clear with this now. I am going to go into question number 9 now. You have to just say you're ready by clicking on still solving. There you have the poll. Good luck, everyone. Be careful this time. Don't give up before trying. 15 seconds before I end the poll. Okay, so A got 64% of the votes, and A is the correct answer. Again, a good news for all of you. The first time you people had attempted this, we had just 38% of you going for A. So from 38 to 64, look at the jump. It's a great improvement. Keep this up, and I'm very, very happy to see the results. We have votes though for B, C, D, and E, all of them. That means this was a slightly more challenging question, which I could see from the time that you people took to do this as well. But that's okay. Let's take this nice and slow. Let's discuss this. N is a positive integer. What is the remainder when 38 to the power n squared is divided by 13? So let's just work with the question stem first before we think about the statements at all. So 38 by 13. And then there's n squared also. You know, I can write n squared outside based on the very results that we've been working on. Separately, if I work with 38 and 13, I have two options. Use my negative remainder minus 1 or use the positive remainder 12. Why would I use 12? Then I'll also have to think about 12 to the power n squared. So whenever it's powers, it's very, very simple to use your negative remainders. The smaller the numerical value, the better it is for us. So for me, it's just minus 1 to the power n squared. Now, this depends on n. If n is odd, minus 1 to the power an odd number will be minus 1 only. So my negative remainder will be minus 1. I'll have to convert it to the positive remainder by adding the divisor 13. So that'll be 12. But if n is even, then minus 1 to the power even number will be 1. So since it's already a positive number, I will not have to do any further processing on it, and that will be my final answer. So you see how my final answer, my remainder, depends on the even odd nature of n. That's it. That's all it depended on. Tell me in the yes no poll if we're all comfortable till here. Perfect. So now that you've understood this, you're 50% done. You've made a huge jump into, getting closer to the final answer. So it's all about n being even or odd. Now when I work with my first statement, it says n leaves no remainder when divided by 4k. So if it leaves no remainder, that means the remainder is 0, right? So n is just equal to 4k, a multiple of 4. Now 4k is even, right? Because 4 is an even number, and when I multiply anything to an even number, it still stays even. That means n is even, and that's the only thing I wanted. Now that I know n is even, my remainder is plus 1. I am done. I have what I wanted. So with this, statement 1 is sufficient. So all those people who marked B or C or E should now have understood what was wrong. Tell me in the yes no poll again if we're all clear till here. Wonderful. That 100% looks so nice. Next now we have statement 2. It says square root of n is divisible by 1 and itself only. Now what are those numbers which have just these two factors, just 1 and itself? Those numbers are prime numbers. So square root of n is a prime number. Square root of n is a prime number means n is the square of a prime number. So n can be what all? 2 squared, 3 squared, 5 squared. It can be the square of any prime number. If it's the square of 2, then it's even. 2 squared is 4. But if it's the square of any of these other prime numbers, then it's going to be odd, which means my number n here can be even or odd. this statement did not give me the even odd nature that I wanted. And therefore, I still cannot decide whether my final remainder is going to be 12 or 1. Are we all clear about this? The poll is open again. Perfect. Great. So for the people who are slightly confused, think about this one more time when you see the recording. I'm sure it'll happen. The only thing here is, since n is the square of a prime number, it could be the square of 2 and therefore even. It could be the square of 3 and therefore odd. So we cannot decide. Now I don't need to combine the statements because statement 1 was already sufficient. So my final answer is A. With this, we are done with question 9. I am going to now bring in question 10, which is the final challenge question when I see enough of your votes for still solving. And this is the last question. Show some energy. Just 35 people say they're ready for this. All right, here's question number 10. Good luck. Seconds before I end the poll. Okay, here are the results. You see votes for A, B, C, D, E. Okay, every option got votes. D had the majority, 51%, and D is the correct answer. So the accuracy this time is 51%. The first time you did this, it was just 23%. So it has gone up by more than double. 23% doubled would be 46, and this is 51. So great job here. Now A and B, I see almost an equal number of votes, and C and E are almost equal. So let's see, let's discuss this, and then I'll keep asking questions. What is the remainder when 4m is divided by 16, where m is a positive integer greater than 1? Okay, so according to the question stem, this is what I want. 4m divided by 16, I want the remainder. And m I know is a positive integer. Now you know by the divisibility remainder equation that you can write 4m as 16q plus r, where q is the quotient and r is the remainder, and the remainder has to be less than the divisor, so it has to be less than 16. Now less than 16 means it has to be less than or equal to 15, and it also has to be non-negative. That means it can be 0 or positive. With this now, I have really no information from the question stem. I just have really what I want to find out. So if I see statement 1, m leaves a remainder of 4 when divided by 32 to the power 32. That means when my divisor becomes 32 to the power 32, then my remainder is 4, and m is the dividend. So here I use this to write my DNR equation, divisibility and remainder equation. Now, remember the goal is to have 4m. What you have is just m. So what do? You can just multiply both sides by 4. So your left side will become 4m and your right side will become this. Now, just look very carefully. This thing, this 4 times 32 to the power 32k, you can extract 16 from it as required. And how can you do that? So 32 to the power 32 is really what? It's 32 multiplied by 32 to the power 31. So you've just taken 132 away. And from this 132, you can again extract a 4. Why? Because 4 times 8 is 32. This 4 will then join with the 4 that you have outside to become a 16. So essentially, I had a 4 already, but I wanted a 16. So I wanted one more 4. That 4 I have extracted from 32 to the power 32. With this then, the rest of it I don't care about. So this 8 times 32 to the power 31 times k, all of this I'm calling p. That is my quotient. And this 4 times 4, this is the 16 that I've written here. So 4m is equal to 16p plus 16. Now, you know the remainder has to be less than the divisor, right? It cannot be equal to the divisor. So there is something more you have to do. But you know what? You could have taken 16 common. So it's 16 times p plus 1. When you compare it with this, q is equal to p plus 1 and r is equal to 0. So from statement 1, we can get the remainder. We can get what we were looking for. Tell me in the yes no poll if you're comfortable till here. Is also based on the same principles as all those questions that we've solved till now. We had to change the 4 into a 16. We had to still extract the number. This time it's only because of this exponent that this might look difficult, but it's still the same thing, trust me. You broke 32 to the power 32 into this first. You took 32 to the power 31 separately. Then from this 32 you got the 4 that gave you your 16. So this is not any different. Just don't get intimidated by this power. Next then is our analysis of statement 2. Statement 2 tells you that m to the power 3 is divisible by 16. So it's the cube of m. I don't know about m, but I know the cube is divisible by 16. So what do? M really will have to have a 2 then. How can I say this? If m cube is divisible by 16, then m cube is an even number. And if m cube is an even number, then m is an even number. Now, if m is an even number, it has to have a 2 in it, right? So it's 2. So this is, say, the prime factored form of m, where these other prime numbers, p1, p2, p3, I don't know what they are, but they're not 2. Those are your other prime factors, your odd prime factors. Now, if this is m, then m to the power 3 is what? Because that is what I have in statement 2. So I'm just cubing both sides. This is what my right side also becomes. Now, I know it is divisible by 16, which itself is 2 to the power 4. So 2 to the power 4 has to be a factor of m cube. Right now what I see is 2 to the power 3a. So what I can say as a result is that 3a is at least 4. 3a is greater than or equal to 4. And from that you will get a is greater than or equal to 4 by 3, which is 1 point something. So what's the minimum that a can be? It's an integer, right? So it can be 2. Minimum value of a will be 2. So my m, which I had here, is 2 to the power 2 times something. Remember, that's just the minimum. I could have a greater power, but I'm taking whatever I'm absolutely sure of. So this is m. It is 2 to the power 2 times something. Now, remember what you wanted. You wanted 4m equal to something, 16q plus r. So how do I change this into 4m? I'll multiply both sides by 4. So this is 4 times 2 squared and something. This here, 4 times 2 squared is just 4 times 4, which is 16. Yet again, you got 4m is equal to 16q plus nothing. That means when you compare it with this, your r is 0. So even from statement number 2, you could get that the remainder is 0. Tell me if you understood this. This was more challenging than any of the previous questions. But if you did this carefully, took this nice and slow, it didn't have any new concepts. It was all about applying what you know in a more sophisticated fashion, a more elaborate way. Very happy to see 90% of you saying yes to this. That's absolutely wonderful. Now with this, I'm opening the chat box. Tell me how you feel about this. All of this, now that you've done the challenge questions, you've seen your accuracy improve on these 3 questions from the beginning till now. How do you feel about the session? What do you want to say? The last one was more tricky. You feel confident. You feel very nice. You feel nice and we feel nice then. Tell me, everybody. Yes, last one was tricky. Thank you. I'm glad you liked the session. Yes, we will keep taking free sessions. It'll be great. Somebody says it's either too easy or I'm 200% good. Well, I would want it to be 200% good. It wasn't too easy, really. You could see people struggling and then improving. That is the main thing. Don't be harsh on yourself. Judge yourself from the improvement that you make. You know, our goal for all of this was to show you that you can do this. You know, you can succeed on GMAT Quant. It can be mastered. No matter how difficult it might look to you in the beginning, it can be done. You just have to be, into it. You just have to trust the process. For this, I'd just like to show you a success story. Very inspiring, all of you. When you see other people succeeding using the same tools that we are giving to you today, you'll feel that you can do it too. So this first story is for all those people who think they're good in GMAT Quant. For you who's 200% good. So you read this verified review on GMAT Club also. You'll find it there also. This is about Krish, who got a Q51, which is the highest score that you get on Quant, and he got a V38. That's also a wonderful score for verbal. What Krish faced was he constantly faltered when he was trying to answer GMAT questions. He was falling in those familiar traps, traps that you saw today. Then he came and he decided to change his approach. He started following this methodical approach, okay? He said, okay, I'm not going to do things the way I was doing. I'll think properly. After he changed all of this, see the improvement he made. He got the highest possible score on Quant. He organized information better. Simplification and applying logic is the key. You have to simplify things. See how he says about the e-GMAT course not teaching you any tips or tricks or shortcuts. They don't work everywhere. He said, I never knew I could keep the variables till the end. That's again an important tip. Just how you had a lot of things from the session today. He learned a lot of things when he went through the course. Then this is about Leonardo. He was unable to cross the Q45. I'm sure a lot of you today here probably would also be stuck at a certain score. But then he improved to a Q49, as you see here. He got admission to Wharton. What helped him? Methodical approaches. Again, it was structured. He did not make the same mistakes again because he knew the structure. He knew what to do, how to do, when to do. He used analytics. He could see where he was weak. Today in the session, you probably found out some weak spots and now you know where you have to work. That's exactly what should happen at every stage of your preparation. You should be able to see, this is my weak point. This is what I have to work with. You have to have selective practice. Practice the right kind of questions, GMAT style questions, not just about any questions that you find online. We have the Quant Scholaranium, our platform, where we have GMAT style questions for practice. This is about Mazibar now. What is happening here is so let's just see. Last week I gave my mock. Okay. So this is about Mazibar, who was extremely weak in Quant. Just look at his starting score, Q30, which is the 20th percentile, by the way. That means just 20% of the students got scores below him. All other 80% were above him. So it's about somebody like this. He spent a ton of time reading Quant books, but somehow he just could not improve. Then he benefited from the progressive learning structure that we have here at e-GMAT. He could cement his basics before taking on difficult questions, just how we did warm-up questions first. We did easy questions, then we went to 600, 650 level, then we went on beyond that, right? So this is how you should go and then get ready for the hard questions. Getting feedback at the right time and all of that is super important. We have quizzes built into each file, and with those built-in quizzes, he managed to improve to a Q45, which is huge improvement if you see. So you can all do this. The success stories don't end. They just keep going on. There's Guillermo Gonzalez. He had a starting score of just Q38 and he went all to Q50, which is the 87th percentile. So from being just above 38% people, he was then above 87% people. Just focus on the right kind of learning, follow the right process, and the magic will happen for you also. So you just have to focus on learning and adapt the right habits into your system. Ensure that you have 200% clarity in your concepts. Solve them step by step. Actively read your questions. Don't just give them a quick glance. You will miss information, as I saw a lot of you today struggling with. Read it carefully. Trust the test maker. You will not see any questions that you cannot solve at all. It'll be things here. You just have to be a smart solver. Trust your skills. You have everything in your arsenal, everything you need. As concluding points, remember, you need to review all number properties concepts that you have in your free trial. It's prime numbers, it's divisibility, it's remainders. Go through all of that. And you will be given a PDF with practice questions. Solve them. Solve the number properties questions in Scholaranium also. You have 59 of those. Solve all of these and you will see that you find a new you in terms of your performance with number properties. With this, I'd like to end the session here. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'll see you soon in another session. Good luck.